Are you guys there? Hello? It's Saturday morning. Is anyone there? Jen, Mike, let's start this show.
It's Social Pulse Weekly, brought to you by Agora Pulse. With this week's special guest, Annette McDonald. Discussing this week's hottest topics and latest developments in social media marketing. With your host, Jennifer Watson. Here's Social Pulse Weekly.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday or Saturday if you're around the world in Australia, like Annette. I can't believe she's actually 14 hours ahead of us. But happy Friday, happy Saturday, wherever you are. Welcome to the show. We're so excited for you to be here. And we're so honored and lucky to have our guest with us. It's actually 4 a.m. where she is in Australia. And we were lucky enough to have her. She actually said yes when I asked her if she would be on the show. So I love her so much. It's the weekend. We're so excited to have her. And we're excited to have you on the show as well. Happy Friday to everyone, guys. Hope you're doing great. If you're joining us, let us know who you are, where you're watching us from, something that you achieved that you're really happy about this week, or something you're looking forward to the rest of the month, the rest of the year. Share all your great news with us here. We love to celebrate everyone. We've got Carrie Ray in the house, Justin Hornback, our community manager, Deb Mitchell. We've got Scott Ayers, and he said, wow, 4 a.m. Yeah, WTF. We're so glad you're here, though, Annette. Juan Santiago, thank you so much for joining us. We've got Ellis in the house as well. Happy Friday, everyone. Eric Fisher, yes, time traveling. I did ask Annette, and we can all ask her, what does the future look like? What does Saturday look like? Maybe a little bit better because we got some interesting news this morning in the United States. But before we talk about news really quick, I want to talk about our show sponsor, Brianna Anderson. She's an analytical nerd with a soft spot for strategy. She is the founder of Beast Analytics, which offers data-driven digital marketing strategies and analysis, consulting, audits, and training. Bree is also a contributor for well-known SEO publications, including Moz and the Search Engine Journal. So Bree, everyone give her a clap, a thumbs up. Bree is in the house. She's going to be helping welcoming everyone in and also driving the conversation as well. So you guys ready to get started? There is a lot going on, especially when it comes to the US and TikTok. So we want to get right to that. But shout out to Trisha, some UK love. Trisha, we love you. It's happy hour for you. So hopefully you've got a drink with us. If you are drinking, share with us what you're drinking. Missy in the house as well. Yes, Bree is the best. She's absolutely awesome. And so is Annette. But let's dive right into the news. And so one of the biggest things, which I'm excited about for you IGTV users, is that Facebook is rolling out automated captions for IGTV. Now, this comes very quick after they did it for Facebook Live, but basically this week they announced the availability of automatic captions for IGTV, beginning with captions for on-demand videos in 16 languages globally. The rollout follows the launch of automatic captioning for Facebook Live and Workplace Live, which arrived in March for 6 languages, including English, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, German, and French. Now, Facebook says they're expanding their captioning helps build upon the alternative text options or updates it made a few years ago to support people with limited vision. And I think this is huge, especially with the current environment we're living in, and more businesses are running on social media and relying on social media to help spread the word, sell products, services, all of that. So I think this is huge and so positive. And so if you use IGTV, definitely make this part of, you'll probably notice this, and it'll be a huge part of your marketing strategy and make your videos even better, because For me, I'm a visual learner. And so I love to listen, but I also like to read as well. I even do that on my TV in my house. I don't know if anyone else does that. If you do, give me a thumbs up. But I think this is big, especially, for those people that have, it's hard for them to hear different things. So this is such a positive news. So yay to that. And also, there is a bunch of other news, but one of the bigger things that I wanted to talk about today, the co-viewing experience with Messenger, Watch Together. So I think a lot of us are experiencing isolation, right? We're trying to be smart. We're trying to be safe. We maybe haven't been able to really hug our parents or see family in several months, and that's probably going to continue. So Facebook is introducing a co-viewing experience in Messenger, which is Watch Together, which I think this is awesome. The new feature will allow friends and family to watch videos together over Messenger. It's called Watch Together, and it includes original programs, user uploads, creator content, live streams, and soon music videos. At launch, the co-watching experience can be used by up to 8 people in Messenger video chat on mobile, or by up to 50 people in Messenger rooms. So this is just another big way that Facebook and other platforms are basically adjusting to the current time and making it easier for people to connect and build those relationships, which are important in every aspect of business. So I think this is huge, whether for your family or for your business. Now, the other big news, if you haven't heard, this morning, if you live in the United States, the Trump administration issued new rules this morning that will basically kind of cripple the operation of 2 of the Chinese-owned social media apps. And they are, yes, WeChat and TikTok. This is a big, big blow, especially to WeChat users. The restrictions will ban the transferring of funds or processing of payments through WeChat within the United States as of Sunday. So starting Sunday, this is in effect for WeChat. So this is kind of a really big deal. In the case of WeChat, the restrictions will also prevent any company from offering internet hosting, content delivery networks, internet transit, or peering services to WeChat, or using the app's code and other software or services in the United States. So this is not good news, especially with people with families, international and family members in the United States that utilize WeChat to communicate with people in the United States, as well as businesses doing business here. With TikTok, the same prohibitions will begin on November 12th. But I do think that Oracle will be able to figure out a deal. They do have a caveat in here. In the announcement, the Commerce Department said that the president has given until November 12th for TikTok's national security concerns to be resolved. And that's the big concern with how the Chinese government is utilizing our data within these apps. Now, if they are resolved, then the order will be lifted and we won't have to worry about any bans come November 12th for TikTok and maybe potentially WeChat. We don't know, but this is the latest that we know. So you don't have to freak out just yet about TikTok, but it's just something to be aware of. But I do think that Oracle will find a way to ease that stress and the concerns that the U.S. government has, and they won't have that ban. But that's the fingers crossed. So this is crazy. There's absolutely a lot going on. We've got Seb in the house as well. Seb, what's going on? Hey, Seb is one of the big wigs at Agora Pulse. He's on the product team and heads up basically the entire product team. So Seb, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the show. So that was the biggest news, basically the biggest bombshell this morning for the United States this Friday was that. But so you got to understand, come Sunday with WeChat, there are going to be restrictions. So if you utilize business on that at all, you need to be aware of that. But with all of that said, and let me know how you feel about this in the comments, because I know people have been stressing about this for a while. If you're on TikTok, let us know and actually share your account, because we would actually love to follow you, because TikTok, I think they're going to work it out. We have until November 12th. But I want to get right to our amazing guest, because she is brilliant. She's an entrepreneur, and she's started more than one business, and she's incredible. So it's Annette McDonald. She's joining us from Australia in the future. It's 4 a.m. for her. She has over 20 years of graphic design and creative agency experience. She has created the ultimate secret weapon for professional looking DIY graphics, which we all could use help, right? And her company is Easil. And so if you haven't heard of it, you need to check it out. I know a lot of people have, and it's amazing and awesome. Her tech company is based on the Gold Coast in Australia, with franchises and teams in Australia and globally using the tool to keep their graphics on brand and cutting down the bottleneck for design teams, including her own. Annette runs her graphic design agency with her husband alongside developing the DIY design tool. So I just have to say, Annette, you are awesome. First of all, how does the future look? How is the weekend looking? Has anything been lifted? It's Saturday for you. Are things looking better in the future?
It's always gorgeous here on a Saturday morning, I must say, but 4 a.m., it's pretty early. I haven't experienced too much today. We're very lucky over here in Australia in general. We've got pretty good freedom, I must say. Like, our restrictions with COVID and everything are fairly lifted now. So our future, it's pretty good. And I'm sure you guys will get better over there as well.
Awesome. I love your positivity right there. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And we just have to say a huge thank you for joining us so early in the morning on a weekend. You're supposed to sleep in on the weekend. And we're like, no, Annette, you need to talk to us and geek out with us. So I have to say thank you. And we've got Carrie Ray in the house. Deb says cute earrings. They are super cute. And she says, Carrie says, hello to you, Annette. We've got Jackie in the house. Jackie, hey, what's going on? Trisha also says she loves Easil. I think many of us do. And everyone loves her earrings, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes. And Brianna, our show sponsor, said dedication, right? Like, seriously, hardcore dedication. So, Annette, I am inspired by you. And I think I met you maybe 2 years ago, but finally at Social Media Marketing World this year was when we really had a chance to talk. And everything you do, you're so fearless, but I would love to just get a quick summary of how you got to where you are today, what motivated you to start Easil, and ease everyone's stresses of design work and making really amazing designs quickly and easily.
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. It's no trouble at all getting up this early for you guys, because I miss you all. So it's great to catch up. But getting to where it all started and how Easil came about. So I'm a graphic designer by trade. So over 20 years ago, as you mentioned, I started doing design for some other companies, and I got promoted to the advertising department within there. And I got a taste of everything design and advertising. And once I reached the point of not being able to get promoted any higher within that organization, I decided to go out and get a bit more formal training, and I started my own business. And while I was doing that part-time work and part-time training, I picked up my first client, which I've actually still got now 20 years later this year. So I've got some really, really long-term clients, but that client is Australia's largest hospitality group. So they own over 330 taverns, and they've got thousands of staff and hundreds of outlets. And that work started growing really, really rapidly. So I started recruiting staff and building my team, and ended up having a design studio with over 35 different staff working for me. And we just kept getting busier and busier and busier with more clients coming on board. And we couldn't keep up with our own bottleneck of doing small changes. So it was getting to be that era where social media was coming in, and everyone was wanting graphics for everything from Facebook to Instagram to, banners for their websites. There was a million different outputs for every campaign, and we weren't keeping up. So we started looking at our options for what we could build to actually ease our own workload. And that's where the idea of Easil came about. And at that stage, it wasn't Easil, it was just an internal tool. We started using it to allow our clients to come in to access our professional design and make their own changes, because a lot of the work coming in was, hey, can you guys, resize that, or can you change this from this date to this new date, and things like that that are really quite small, and we knew that our clients could manage. So that's where the whole idea came from. I always had the creative studio. I've still got the other business on the side, and sort of balancing the two projects at the moment.
Well, you're doing an amazing job. And Bree says, wow, a 20-year client, that's huge. And that just proves that your customer experience and everything you do is amazing, right? Because it's all about, your customer experience, making sure they're happy and you're relieving their stresses and solving problems for them. So that's amazing. That's so big. And I love that. And so focusing in on Easil, right? And creating designs, your tool is incredible because it makes me and other people look like professional designers. You could say I maybe went to a 4-year design school. And so I would love to know, what are some of the top mistakes that you see people making when it comes to designs, where you're just like, it's cringeworthy. You see it in your feed and you're like, oh, only if they did this, or why did they include that? I would love to know.
Oh gosh, where do I start? I think
everywhere, because we all need to learn and get better.
I think the main thing that really makes me cringe is too much stuff on a design. So really cramping it in, and when stuff encroaches on the borders of a design, I'm speaking with my hands now, but when stuff is touching, text especially is right out there on the borders of an Instagram story, or any social media design where there's a lot of text and people are taking it right out to the boundaries, right out to here, and it's not being allowed to breathe. So my pet peeve is really that, putting too much on there. I always like people to have a look at their designs and bring it all in, like reduce it down, take something off, simplify it, and always look at it at the right size. So when you're designing on a screen, in whatever program you're using, hopefully Easil, you're looking at it and usually it's 300 to 400% on your screen. So I think people should take it right down and look at it how it is, and look at those the margins and the boundaries of everything, and make sure that there's breathing space, and that'll make me a lot happier.
I love that. I so love that. And I think, knowing what they shouldn't do will help people understand what they need to do when it makes clean designs. I know, and my boss, the producer of the show, I always tell him I want my designs to pop. Right? I want them to be really, really exciting. And I think sometimes I struggle with putting one too many things on my images. So like hearing that is very great news. Now, when it comes to logo design and just images in general, let's say you're a new business and you're like, okay, we want to create unique looking images and a design that stands out among everyone else. What are your tips and steps for kind of going down that roadmap of like, okay, let's make our designs really amazing?
Okay, so I think first of all, it's doing research before you actually get on the tool. So unfortunately, there's no one size fits all tip to make everyone have an amazing graphic that works on every platform, because every platform is different and everyone's audience is different. So I think the main things to do are know your audience, know your platform, and know your own brand. So all of that set up, having that logo, having a brand kit like your colors, your fonts, and your style of imagery, all of that down pat before you start getting on the tools, and knowing what you're creating and who you're creating for is more important than any of the design tips. I've got a ton of things you shouldn't do to make yourself look more professional, and I can run through some of those if you like. But definitely before you start doing anything, it's really working out where you're designing for. So for example, if you're designing a YouTube thumbnail, it's totally different to creating something for Instagram. You've got something very text heavy, very, maybe like you say, something that wants to really pop on your YouTube channel, as opposed to Instagram, where it's generally something really beautiful. So, you really need to know where you're creating for before you start creating. Now,
I would love to know, Annette, what is your favorite social media platform right now for you personally and for your business?
Yeah, I think I'm still a bit old school. I like Facebook. I like the fact that it's not too curated. I like the conversations that I have on Facebook. I like everything else that you get with Facebook, the groups and the lives and everything like this. So I really enjoy Facebook, and it does well for us, and I think it's less of an effort than Instagram and some of the other platforms.
I would agree. I love Facebook too. And we've got a lot of conversation on the side. Justin Hornbeck says, I love graphic design, but I always want someone else to do it. Yeah, I understand, Justin. Yes, I totally get it. But Easil is so great. So if you haven't tried it, you definitely need to. It's super easy. And Brianna said, I thought you were going to bring up one of my designs. I was getting scared. No, Brianna, your designs are amazing. And we've got a question from Trisha. She said, what are your top 3 tips for design for social media? Which you kind of talked through, but if there's anything more specific that you'd like to discuss, we totally have time to do that as well. And that's a great question, Trisha.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if you don't have any design skills, it's always good to start with a template. And when you're using that template, really honor the layout of that template, because all of the composition of that has been worked out by a professional designer. So if there's a text section of that template, you should try and fit your text within that same area. So a lot of people go into a template and they will move things around quite a bit. And once you start doing that, you're really taking away from what that professional graphic designer has put together. So I really encourage people to find a set of templates that work for their business, that work for their audience, and then really honor that. So switch out the image for a similar image in terms of size within the template, switch out the text for a similar style of text and also a similar type of personality. So if you're doing something lighthearted, making sure that you're using a font from your brand kit that is, a fun personality sort of one, as opposed to one that's a little bit drab or corporate, making sure that you've got the right assets that are speaking the right voice all the time. But also, I think you really need to be careful that you don't go overboard with using brand looks and feels as well. So you can sometimes get a bit too corporate and a bit too much of the same look all the time, and it starts to look like ads. So making sure that you've got that variation and a lot of imagery that can make sure that people aren't getting stale, I guess, that your feed isn't getting stale to your audience. So mixing it up, but keeping it on brand. I know that's a lot to absorb and it's quite broad, but yeah, keeping those rules in mind.
Those are such great tips, Annette. Seriously, thank you so much. And I think all of us who, a lot of us are solopreneurs or we work for small businesses and we have to design graphics on our own. So any kind of tips and tricks is phenomenal. And so Missy, I love this. She says, I'm watching you guys while trying to design flu shot graphics. So she said, great tips, which is true. And Missy, yes, trying to make a flu shot graphic exciting and popping, I know can be very difficult. So I think that's awesome. And if you want to share what you're designing in here, we could all take a look. But I think that's awesome. And I'm curious, Missy, where you work for. Is it a doctor's office, a hospital? I think that's so interesting. And yes, Justin said, finding the sweet spot is so true. So when it comes to holidays, right, which I can't believe, I think we're less than 100 days from Christmas. I'm kind of counting down. I'm actually counting down, and like all sorts of holidays. There's a lot of holidays, but the holiday season. Do you have any tips for companies and brands for design when it comes to the holidays? Because I know you don't want to completely lose your company identity and logo, but you also want to add a few things for celebration, right? That it is the holiday season. So how do you and your team go about creating holiday graphics for you guys?
Yeah, I would say keep those extra elements in small doses. So you can add a lot of holiday feel with a small graphic in terms of like an illustration or an icon or something like that. Don't make it too overpowering and take over the whole graphic. So make sure, again, like you have that sweet spot of having some of your corporate fonts, maybe incorporate your logo into something, placed on, a small bauble, like a really simple sort of illustration, something like that. Making sure that you bring in some of that feel, but not totally taking away from your corporate brand. So pick a template if you can, apply one of your brand colors that matches the template, and then again, try and keep that feel of the holiday with the imagery and the fonts and everything that you're selecting, and keeping a nice balance between a template, the holiday, and your own brand.
I love those. And those are great tips, because I think right now, if you're not, you should be thinking about what you're going to be promoting and all the things you're going to be doing for the holidays. And so, Annette, I have another question, and I actually have a lot of questions, guys. I loaded Annette with questions because she's brilliant and she's amazing. But I would love to know from your point of view and perspective. I know you and your company produce awesome content. By the way, you should check out Easil's Pinterest page, because it's popping. It's amazing. But everything that Easil does is so good. But I would love to know, are there any brands that you love that you're also impressed by their graphic design, and you're just like, oh, wow, they're like, a really good example of how to make a clean looking graphic that pops and isn't too crowded?
Ooh.
I'm putting you on the spot right now.
You are. I'm thinking, there's some brands in Australia. I'm just trying to think. There's a really cool chocolate brand. I think it's called Hey Tiger, and it's not exactly what you'd call clean, but it's very quirky, and they do a really, really good job of taking that consistency of really different graphics across everything they do, from really super fun gifts to their packaging to everything like that. So whilst it's not super clean, they've really developed a way where they can do things like holiday graphics and their corporate look really, really, really well. It's a very, very fun brand, and I love what they do across everything. I don't know if you can bring it up. It's called Hey Tiger, or if it's worth it, or if you guys just want to check it out later. I think I might have brought some of those chocolates over to some of you guys over to Social Media Marketing World. They're really amazing.
Oh my gosh. And next year, hopefully social media or some other conference, you're going to be able to come over. And we actually have the link right there. Hey Tiger, we actually put it in there so you guys can check them out. And I would love to know, in anyone who's watching us, put a link on a brand that you think does a really good job with graphics, graphic design, because we can always use inspiration, whether it's not like the entire graphic, but different pieces of it. It's great learning from each other. So, or even if you create graphics on your own and you want to share some examples that you have, definitely share them in the comments, because we can all help support you. And it's great to see what different people are doing, because I love that. It's awesome. And yes, if you haven't tried Easil, do try Easil, guys. It's an amazing and awesome tool. And so I want to, and Bree Anderson said that as well. And so I want to get to the fact that you've started 2 businesses, right, Annette? I mean, you're absolutely fearless. And I would love to know, because I think a lot of people have big dreams. They're really passionate about things, but what has been your biggest lessons? Because a lot of the people watching are entrepreneurs. They work for small businesses, maybe have or want to start a side hustle. How do you keep your inner, doubt, I guess, from taking over? And what have been some of your biggest lessons about managing a small business, or a business, I should say, not small, but a business?
Yeah. We definitely started small. I think the biggest thing is understanding that systems and processes can really save your sanity. So getting that sort of stuff set up from the start with, your standard operating procedures and systems can really save so much time and so many headaches. Doing that stuff is, for me, an absolute nightmare. I hate it, but it is the best thing to do that and take the time, and then not have to be repeating those sort of procedures day in, day out, every time you're trying to onboard and take your clients through your normal work processes. So I learned fairly early on that I really needed to get the stuff out of my head and down into these procedures so that I could bring on people more efficiently than I was previously. So I kept a lot of my own systems in my head, and obviously that doesn't work for anyone, and you really need to start thinking big and setting up those procedures so that you're ready for growth. So definitely that's the biggest thing I've ever learned. And in terms of the doubts, look, I think everyone knows we've got big competitors, and it's hard to keep those things out of your head sometimes, and you need to have really strong mental strength, keep your head healthy and just stay in your own lane and keep one eye on your competitor, but not all the time. Really focus on what you can do and how you can grow your own business, and not worry about what everyone else is doing, because it can really mess with you. I know that it has with me for a while. So I try and break from work as much as I can and spend time with my husband and my family and get that balance, and not always be thinking about what everyone else is doing, because it can definitely mess with you.
Yes, I know it absolutely can. And it's one of those things, I think we've gotten some amazing tips from other people in the past, other guests in the past, where, you wake up in the morning, all you want to do is check your phone, see if you've gotten any emails, but don't do that. Take some time for yourself and visualize, what you want to achieve that day, and get yourself in a right place before you actually jumpstart and start doing work. Make sure you take some time for you. So yes, and we've got Keith Ronan, who's signing up for Easil right now. He says he likes what he's seeing, which is so fantastic and so awesome. And Justin Hornback said, yes, you have to recharge, because I can only imagine juggling family, taking care of everyone, managing a business, employees. I mean, it's a lot. And so you're doing amazing. And especially during this time, you should know you're doing absolutely incredible. So
thank you so much.
And I would love to know, because you manage multiple businesses, what are your top productivity tools? So we know where to go for design, Easil. But what do you do? What do you use for productivity to make sure things are in line and you've got things streamlined?
So before Easil, so I had my creative agency, my design agency, which was still got, we actually built our own CRM. So our first piece of software was actually building our own CRM. So this was about close to 18 years ago, we started building that software for ourselves, because we couldn't really find anything in that aspect either. So we're still using that. So in terms of CRMs, we use our own internal system, and that's amazing, because it's everything from all of our client details through to a full proofing system for all of our clients, and also Easil's integrated into there for a lot of our clients as well. So it's a massive, massive system that, believe it or not, is bigger than Easil, but that's a private piece of software that no one else can use except for us. On top of that, I use Trello and Asana in different ways for working with our clients, and of course Agorapulse all the time between the two businesses. All of those things save us a ton of time. I love some of the stuff, obviously, that's coming into Agorapulse, the reports and things like that. So we can put that back to our clients as well. Maybe, even integrate some of those reports into our portal, our platform. So Trello and Asana, depending on the clients, our CRM and Agorapulse are the main things that we use.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And we love that you're a user of Agorapulse too, because we love Easil. We need to just combine all of that. And something I love, which seems to be a theme with you and your companies, is if there's a problem you need to solve, you don't search for a tool, you create one within your company, which is fantastic. You're like, you know what, we're going to build this ourselves. So I can only imagine, which I'm wondering the next problem you guys come upon, because you're going to start another company and another amazing tool. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's so awesome. And really quick, Bree, our show sponsor, she said, make a 2-minute design and come share it. She dares everyone watching. She has the links there to go make a design and share it with us so we can all watch it. So definitely, guys, take the time and do that. And if you have questions for Annette, whether it's starting a business, design tips, anything like that, please, this is your time, because you guys, it's 4:30 in the morning on a Saturday. When are we going to ever have Annette again? Hopefully we will. But, it's tricky with our schedule. So definitely ask questions. Carrie says, I love that they just build what they need. Yes, me too. 4 a.m. alarm is really early, Annette. And so one final thing I have to ask you is, you're very passionate about your projects. Is there something in the works for the future? Are you thinking of another business? Because you're an incredible entrepreneur, and I'm very curious to know, is there some other amazing tool you guys have considered, or maybe project that you're working on? And you don't have to share it if you don't.
Well, actually, there isn't anything. I think I've had enough craziness in my life for the moment. So I think the next thing that I'll do will actually be much more subdued. So though it might be in the creative space, and I've got a lot of time and a lot of energy left in me to do stuff with Easil, I think the next thing that I will personally do is probably something like be a stop motion video producer or something like that. That's very small, not too software related, and something where I can really flex my creative skills. But yeah, as far as building another tool, I think that would be crazy. I'd like to keep those things about 15 years apart, going at our current rate anyway, so nothing in the pipeline for the moment.
Well, no, and that's good. That's smart. You're doing a brilliant job already. And me asking people to ask questions, we've got 3 now in a row for you. So the first one, Brianna, our show sponsor, and this is a great question. She said, for a 3-week-old entrepreneur, she just started her own business. How are you keeping 20-year clients? How do you keep that rapport?
Look, I think the main thing is customer service, and doing everything that you can for them. I consider myself for this client being their internal graphic design department. So they can call me and I like to have an idea of what they want and a solution for them before they can even think of it. So always being ahead of the game and doing as much research as you can into your clients so that you're one of them and you're really, you've got the ideas and they feel that you're right there with them. That's the most important thing.
I love that. That's a great tip, you guys. Customer service, putting yourself in the customer's shoes and understanding how you would like an experience like that with a business. So I love that, Annette. That's fantastic. We have another question. I try really hard to have consistent fonts, colors, designs, but I get bored easily and like to switch it up. I feel like we're on the same wavelength there. Any help for people like me that, I understand, companies have to have a set font, set color scheme. But I think I've struggled with this too. So I'm right there. Any tips for just mixing it up and keeping it exciting yet consistent? I think that's
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's what I feel you can get with sort of having like that ad fatigue, that all of your designs start looking like an ad and they look too corporate because you're always using the same heading font and the same body font and you're always positioning your logo in the same place. And so it starts looking like an ad, and you really don't want that because you will get that fatigue from it. So I would always say that you don't have to apply everything to every single design that you do. If you can add a color or a font or some of your graphic elements, so making sure that you build out your brand to have more than those things, to have little graphic elements that might be background textures or little, depending what your brand is and how corporate you are, it might be little scribbles or little dots or something like that you can layer into your designs to bring that corporate or that brand back into it without being too drab and too stale. So bringing some of it in, but not absolutely at every element of your brand kit every single time. So you can use some of those different fonts, and also make sure that your brand kit does have some what we call like display fonts. So something that does have a little bit of fun to it. So when you're talking about holidays or something like that, you have that brand font to pull in straight away and make it feel fun rather than corporate.
Awesome. Those are amazing tips. And that question was from Rebecca Ward. So Rebecca, I love how we're just constantly on the same wavelength, I feel. And she's actually going to be our Lunch and Learn guest next week, which is so awesome. And we've got a great question from Justin Hornback, and a shout out to Justin because we love Justin, and Justin joins all of our lives, our Twitter chats and everything. He's incredible. We love him. And he said, for someone doing it alone, what would you suggest they do after creating a design? Show it to a group or something for advice? So that's a great question, Justin. You can always show it to us too, by the way. But yes.
Yeah, you can definitely show me. No, but I think first of all, when you're designing on a screen, I said it a little bit earlier, making sure that you're looking at what you're designing at the correct size is the most important thing. So don't zoom right into your design. If you're designing for Instagram, try and look at it at the right size, a little bit smaller. Take a look at it and see if it's too cluttered and try and remove something before you then go and show someone else. But definitely, I think, make sure you're showing the right people as well. So your friends may always just say, yeah, that looks great. So making sure that if you do have other people that maybe work in the industry that aren't your competitors, that you can run by those designs and get some feedback from them to see where you're at and how they're reacting to it is really important. But making sure you're showing the right people and not just getting, I guess, yes people saying that looks great and not getting true feedback. So I'm always available to look at designs. I love doing before and afters and critiquing designs if anyone needs any help.
Awesome. So Justin, if you want critiques or anything, send it to Annette. Keep in mind, 14-hour time difference ahead of you from the East Coast. You can send it to us, message the team at Agorapulse or Jennifer@agorapulse.com. We can take a look at it too. But I understand it's hard when you're a team of one, because I've worked in big companies where I was the only social media person, and it's really hard to not really have too many people to bounce ideas off of. So I love that. So Annette, thank you so much. And I'm trying to see, we have one more question. And this is from Brianna, our show sponsor. And I love this because she's an analytical nerd. Any data behind certain design methods that you know of? Is there a certain reason to choose? Well, I know, thinking of this, I remember I learned this in school, that we're drawn to like orange and I think red or yellow, which is why like Kodak had those colors, McDonald's has those colors. But is there any kind of other design or data behind doing different designs?
Yeah, I think that there definitely is for different demographics. So like you say, different brands, like for food, quite often they'll use red, that's appealing. And then obviously for natural therapies and medicinal sort of businesses, you would never use red or something like that. That's considered more of a warning sort of color in those sort of businesses. So you really need to do your research on what those colors mean before you dive into doing a design or starting up your brand kit. And that's really where I do recommend using a graphic designer. I don't recommend just coming in and picking your colors and starting up that sort of stuff by yourself. It needs a lot of thought and putting all of that stuff in together and working out who your demographic is and how they react to those colors, that style of imagery, and how that all works together. So I think the data's there and it's different for different demographics. And there's a lot of stuff you can find out around colors and the psychology also of colors and fonts and things like that, but different for every different audience. So you definitely need to do your research. And a good graphic designer should do that for you when they're building out your brand for you.
Okay, that's great advice. I absolutely love that. You guys are awesome. Everyone watching, you guys are fantastic. And so we're going to actually pivot just a little bit. We have trivia. So we're going to have 2 questions, and these aren't for you, Annette. These are for everyone else to answer. And so you can maybe weigh in a little bit, but you can either win an Agorapulse mug or a t-shirt. It's up to you. But before we run into that, you mentioned something about Agorapulse and our reports. And so we recently added a new feature. It's free right now for users until September 30th. And you can also try it out in a free trial that we have. It's Power Reports. And we just want to share with you really quickly how awesome it is. So we're going to play some
Feeling
video.
overwhelmed by working on social media reports for your clients or company? If so, you're probably longing for an efficient and easy way to create complete and customizable reports. At Agorapulse, we felt the same way, which is why we created our latest feature, Power Reports. Now you can create customizable reports, automatically schedule them, and compare data from different periods. And you can do this quickly without feeling overwhelmed. Customized reports. You can create a report based on meaningful metrics. You can choose one or multiple social networks and one or multiple social profiles. Automatic scheduled reports. Schedule reports to be sent weekly or monthly. It works for single and customized reports. Customized comparison period. Select the customized date range for the report's comparison period. You can do all that without any extra work. In fact, you'll have more time and less stress in your workday. No more manual tweaking of slides or documents. No more days spent on reports alone. Best of all, your report looks great, and your clients or colleagues are impressed. Creating powerful social media reports has never been easier. By the way, Power Reports is free to use until the end of September 2020, so try it on us.
Yay. And so for anyone that I've done in the past, I've worked at a company where we didn't use a social media tool and I had to create reports all by myself. Or if you work for an agency with clients, This is huge. This is big. So test it out for free. If you're not using Agorapulse, just give us a try and see how awesome those reports are, because we have an amazing tool, an amazing, incredible support team that's here to help you with anything that you may need. And to continue the conversation, I love this. We've got still a great conversation on graphics, and I feel like this could continue for a while. Trisha says too many people use script incorrectly, and it's usually too small to read on social media posts. And also color psychology is super important. Fonts too, which is very true, which I was so blown away when I learned this in school about that. Cause I'm like, wow, like it's just, there is psychology behind it with advertising and everything, which is so unique. But all right, guys, let's get to the trivia. Are you guys ready? Are you pumped? Annette, are you ready?
Yes, let's do this.
All right, guys. So this is for everyone who's joining us. You've got 2 questions, and whoever wins, and this, we're going to replay this. We're going to let 24 hours go by before we actually let you know who the winner is, but we will message them. But this is all on Instagram, thinking of images, and where Instagram was based off of nice photography before it turned into everything it is today. But according to Omnicore's report, what percentage of Instagram users are outside of the US? So according to their report, what percentage of Instagram users are outside of the US? It's a big world, guys. And when you answer this, say 1-A, B, C, or D. So we know that you're answering question number 1. So Annette, do you want to take a stab at this? You can't win. I'm so sorry.
I'm going to say C for question number 1.
Yeah. Oh, we got a 1C here as well. Missy says 89%. Juan Santiago says A. Yeah, Missy 1D. Good job, Missy. Thanks. I'm so glad you're here. Someone said C. You guys, these are great guesses. Justin says 1B. Also a great guess. You guys are doing phenomenal. I tend to give the answer away. But Justin, you rock. All of you guys are doing a great job. If you guys have any more answers for 1, let us know. You have about like 5 more seconds. And then we're going to switch to question number 2. So I love these. And I love Omnicore does such a great job with these reports, because I geek out on stats. I know Bree, you geek out on stats too. And so metrics and all that kind of stuff, super geeky. All right, so this is the second question. According to Omnicore's report, how much time on average do users spend on Instagram every day or per day? So according to their report, how much time on average do users spend on Instagram every day? Is it A, 21 minutes, B, 28 minutes, C, 36 minutes, D, 48 minutes? And thinking about this, and when you answer, do 2-A, B, C, or D. I believe LinkedIn is like 8 minutes on average, and TikTok is like over 40 minutes, which is so crazy, because I feel like people get in a TikTok kind of hole and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is like so fascinating. So there's a lot of variety there. I would love to know. Justin says 2C. I love how, Justin, you answered that. 2D, 48 minutes. And Trisha says too long. Yeah. Yeah. I have the problem of, once I get into any kind of social media network, I just kind of look through it all. We've got A, we've got B. Yeah, TikTok. I love Brianna. Brianna would know the answer. 52 minutes on TikTok. Yeah. I was thinking it was 48, but yeah, 52. So I was a little wrong on that one. But yes, Annette, what are you thinking for Instagram?
I'm thinking it may be B, 28 minutes, but I think this audience, all of us, are probably dragging that average much higher than what it needs to be. But I think I'm having a guess at 28 minutes, B.
That's a great guess. That's an awesome guess. Yes, we all spend way too long on that. So you guys, these are such awesome guesses. We will message the winner. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that was watching with us today. We had a big crowd, guys, and we love it. And the fact that, Annette, you woke up, which I'm sure at like 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe even 2:30, to get ready to be on camera on your weekend. We really appreciate it because we think you're brilliant and wonderful. Your companies are amazing as well. Your tool, Easil, so easy to use to make amazing, stunning images that really pop and are attention getting. So I just want to say, and there's the website right there. If you haven't tried Easil, you definitely need to do it. And so Annette, any other things you want to add and talk about how awesome Easil is really quick?
Just wanted to say that we're a totally different tool to some of the different ones out there. So what we're gearing to do is really make design easy, but also to ensure that it always looks non-DIY. So that's our main thing. So we've got a bunch of tools in there that make it easier and easier to use every single time you use it. And also our customer service team are graphic designers. So if you ever want to ask those questions, we're online, not 24 hours a day, but definitely feel free to jump in and put your designs in or any questions, and we're definitely here to help.
Awesome. Well, Annette, I just want to say thank you so much. Where can people follow you, find you, all of that on social media?
Yeah, we're on Team Easil on all the socials. Apart from YouTube, we're on as Easil, so everything's Team Easil. And you can find me also on LinkedIn, Annette McDonald, McDonald. I'd love to connect with anyone on there.
Awesome. I love that. Annette, thank you so much. I want to thank everyone watching. And then also our incredible show sponsor, Bree Anderson, who is just analytics, writing, copywriting, SEO, anything you could think of. We're sharing a link in there right now where you can see her and hire her for any of your analytics needs. And I just want to say, Bree, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us and making such a fun conversation as I'm doing the interview as well. You're fantastic. And also, don't forget Power Reports. You can test that out free until the end of September. And we have amazing guests coming up for next week as well. We're just going to continue the amazing train. We've got Rebecca Ward. She's going to be 1 o'clock Tuesday for our Lunch and Learn in our Facebook group, Social Pulse Community. If you have not joined that yet, definitely do that. It's Social Pulse Community. It's amazing. On Social Media Lab Live, 1 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday, we have Dane Golden. And then Thursday for Agency Chat, we've got Melanie Terrain. That's at 2 o'clock Eastern on Thursday. And Juntai Delane, we have 2 o'clock Eastern on Friday on Social Pulse Weekly. That was a mouthful. We always try to bring in guests that can help you guys, teach you something that you can implement directly into your strategies and improve them. But with that said, I just want to say happy Friday, happy Saturday if you're in Australia, and a big thanks again to Annette for waking up so early to be with us, and a big thank you to you. Hope you continue to have an amazing rest of your week and weekend, and we will see you next week for sure. Bye, guys.